welcome to Game Changers, Voices of the Industry, a podcast where we sit down with people shaping the future of gaming and esports, not just through wins and trophies, but through the impact they create beyond the screen. Today's guest is someone who truly redefines what a modern esports athlete can be. Sylvia, better known in the gaming world as Queen Arrow, is a professional esports athlete representing Nibble Africa, a Red Bull player, and a powerful voice in the global ecosystem of esports. She is a member of the Athletes, Players, and Communities Commission at the Global Esports Federation, helping shape the future of esports beyond just competition. Her journey includes being part of She Plays Games 2021, makes the Forbes 30 Under 30 class of 2022, winning gold at the inaugural Cannock Esports Series, being named in Business Daily's Top 40 Under 40 Women 2023, and becoming the face of Evnia, Philips' gaming peripherals line. Sylvia, welcome to the show. We're really excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Rucha. It's an honor to be here.
Okay, glad. Okay, Sylvia, let's start at the beginning. I wanted to ask you first, like, how did gaming, become a part of your life, and when did it shift from something casual to like a competitive ambition for you?
So gaming became a part of my life thanks to my older brother, my cousin, who are avid gamers and still are. And I've been playing video games since 3 years old. I remember the old cartridge shooting game, duck shooting game. And for me, when it started becoming something more than more than just something casual, it's when I started competing in undergrad. I just like reignited my spark for gaming since I wasn't as intense about it in high school due to basically high school was more of like I was in survival mode. So competing in undergrad in my first tournament sparked that love for competitive action for me.
Got it. Okay. And now that you're representing Nibble Africa, how did that journey begin? And what sort of drew you to that team specifically?
Nibble Africa isn't my first esports team, but I think it's the first within the African continent that I decided to join. My first esports team was Exit Gaming based in New Jersey. That was back in 2018. Then I joined Brutal Democracy, which was a UK-based team in 2020, but I left after 6 months because I think I was more focused on finishing my undergraduate studies. Then I went on to join UIU, which was another US-based esports team in 2021. Then in end of 2022, when I flew out to South Africa for a speaking engagement, I met the Nibble Africa team, and they were really keen on having me join them and I felt there was some synergy to be explored there because
early on, like, what were some of the big challenges you faced breaking into competitive esports?
I think the biggest challenge for me getting into competitive esports is actually learning the intricacies of high-level Tekken. When I initially started competing, I wasn't necessarily really at a pro level. Like I was essentially more or less a beginner if you compared my progress to the rest of the members of the community. And Tekken is notorious for being one of the hardest fighting games out there. So no tutorial mode. So you're essentially thrown into the deep end because they still retain that old school kind of arcade culture where you're supposed to learn from your friends. The developers don't necessarily like giving you the tools to learn. So it was a really frustrating journey trying to get myself to at least the same level skill set as the rest of the other members of the community. And more of that was learning how to be comfortable in my own skin. Especially as someone who felt like more of an outsider, and I just felt like I was always on the outside looking in. So I learned that I need to be comfortable in my own skin. I need to learn how to be strong mentally because you're always going to get criticism, whether it's warranted or even unwarranted. And I found the best way to create that healthy and dynamic and environment for me to learn was linking myself with like-minded individuals and people wanted to just see me succeed at all costs. So creating my own like kind of community was the best way to go about that.
That's amazing. Very nice. Okay. And I think people only often see the highlights, the wins, the stage moments, the announcements, but not like the daily grind, right? So when you're
Yeah.
preparing seriously for competition, what does like a training day look like for you?
Preparing for competition, a typical day looks like 1 hour or, sorry, rather 2 hours of practice. And that doesn't always look like just going to practice mode. Some days it's just like even just literally looking at YouTube and watching gameplay videos of people who would maybe play the same character as I am and see how they approach different characters and scenarios in game. And if when I'm actually now playing the game, that now means like going to practice mode and practicing my movement, practicing my throw breaks. Then since Tekken also has a replay mode feature, it's something I've made a point of using more to understand like what mistakes did I make during my online matches, what can I definitely do better? And I also made it a point to actually get a coach who will take me through the will take me through the different aspects of my gameplay that I need to refine, and they'll also always have a better perspective due to their more extensive experience at the game.
Got it. Got it. Okay. What is sort of the most demanding or draining part of being a professional esports athletes, that fans really see or talk about?
I think the most demanding part would definitely be the mental aspect. Being an esports athlete, it's not as physically demanding, I guess, depending on the game, but I think not many people see the kind of mental toll it can take, especially since there are, I think we tend to be our own biggest critics, and I think that's going across the board regardless of whatever profession you're in. And it's no exception that's the same case in esports, where you always you always want to win, or you want to at least hold yourself to a higher standard. So when you fail to meet that expectation, depending on where your mental state is at the point, sometimes you can really take it like a personal failure. You take it very personally. And if you don't have the right resources and the right tools to help you get through that salt, for lack of a better term, it can really dampen your mood and might also take an even heavier toll on your mental health. So I think that's the aspect people fail to see, and more so like you go online and then you might see comments like really unnecessary and unwarranted comments on maybe your performance, your appearance, and people tend to feel like just because they have access to your social media, they feel entitled to make
Comments.
remarks that are not, they're not really helpful in that moment in time, forgetting that if you're not in a position to help somebody who might be struggling, then you shouldn't be that person who's piling onto their already existing struggles.
Right, yeah, yeah. It's easy to pass comments behind the screen, obviously. And also, like you spoke about mental health being, the most difficult part of training. But also when you're on, like playing a match, and it's like, some high stake moment, and it brings that kind of, a different kind of pressure. So how do you personally manage, nerves, stress, or expectations when everything is on the line?
I don't think there's going to ever be an end to the nerves or to the stress during high and intense competition moments. That's a piece of advice I got from one of my more experienced colleagues in the field. Like it's never going to end, but I think what helps is that when you learn how to manage it better, and for someone like me, I deal with a bunch of mental health issues, depression, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, and all that. So sometimes my first match, my heart is always pounding, and sometimes I find it really hard to think straight. But what's really helped in that moment is reminding myself that this isn't the first tournament I've been in, and it's definitely not going to be the last. And whatever the outcome, it doesn't mean like it's the end of the world. And I've also made it a point to like just stay off social media during competition months because I don't want to focus on what someone might be saying about me in the or not saying about me. I want to just focus on the game. And then breathing exercises during the match, like just making sure your brain has as much air and oxygen as possible so that it allows me to clear up the mental clog and just think and allow me to like recall different aspects from practice mode. Like I'm supposed to punish this, I can recall and react accordingly.
Got it.
Then also just staying hydrated is really, really important for me.
Very important points, actually. Just like beyond just pure gameplay, what are the other skills, like non-gaming skills, that might have helped you, most in your career so far?
What's helped me outside of my gaming career is basically just literally having a life outside of being a gamer. I think also what adds to the mental strain of competitors is that I feel some people tend to make that they're being good at a video game, good at pressing buttons in a video game, their whole and entire personality. So that's how you end up blurring, like, the blurring your online persona with who you actually are as a person. And that's how I think that's why sometimes you might end up taking loss very, very personally rather than just like at the end of the day, it's just supposed to be a video game. So just doing stuff like literally reading, gardening, knitting, drawing, or even just Netflix and chill, that you would actually be surprised how, or even going to the gym or going for walks, like you'd be surprised how much good that will honestly do you.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay. And I'd love to zoom out a bit and also talk about the bigger picture. So how would you describe the current state of esports in Africa today?
How I would describe the current state of esports in Africa is I think there is definitely growth to be seen. The question remains is whether it's growth in the right direction. And if you're to ask me for my opinion, I'm not inclined to say that it's necessarily growth in the right direction. Because what I've seen from the more developed esports scenes globally is that there is buy-in and structural support from the government, which in turn allows. Uh, Let me rephrase that. Yeah, there is buy-in from the government, which ultimately is built on community and is built or allows for brands to also have that kind of buy-in. Here on this continent, I don't feel like following, I'd say, Western models of growth that have been imposed on us is what's going to allow us to grow and create our own esports in our own image. What I think our growth needs to be founded on grassroots and community. And even then, we need to examine the philosophy of why we are actually participating in this industry. It just can't be because there's money to be had. Money, money shouldn't be the end all be all of why we're doing this. We have to make sure our growth is centered on it's people centered. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's what I've seen from my observations. And I think we need to go back to the drawing board in that regard.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. So, but do you see any opportunities as well that are sort of, emerging across African esports, the ecosystem right now?
I do think I have seen that there are some opportunities, but I think a lot of them tend to be centered more on the competing aspect. And I think what we need to also do is actually for people who don't want to compete but still want to be part and parcel of the growth of gaming and esports. There needs to be avenues for them. There needs to be avenues created for people to realize that gaming isn't just esports. Esports is just a very small niche within the gaming sector at the end of the day. But there's so many other opportunities to be had. There's game dev, there's sound engineering, production, coaching, physiotherapy, and so on and so forth. So how do we create opportunities for people to get into those areas? So, yeah.
Right. People are sort of unaware of opportunities, so I think just more awareness would help, and then how to get into each of these. Yes. Okay. And you have also, like, you've become a visible role model for, many people, especially women and young players, right? So, as a woman in esports, how has your journey shaped your confidence and mindset over time?
For someone who's essentially a minority every which way in this industry, my own journey has just been about learning and keeping an open mind regardless of the challenges. I can't say it's been easy, but I think with each setback, it's been a moment for me to just go back and reflect and understand what I want my role to look like and define what success looks like for me at the end of the day. And I think with every time I've managed to at least understand what kind of role I want to play and what that kind of success looks like, it allows me to then shape the boundaries of how I'll be moving in the industry going forward. And so that means like I've had to develop like thicker skin. I've had to be more deliberate about following what's going on globally in terms of politics and in terms of economics, in terms of uh, even just how like external factors are shaping the ins and outs of the esports industry and what I want my role to ultimately look like in being one of the people helping the industry move forward.
That's a wonderful dream you have, and also your name, like Queen Arrow, is it's so powerful. What does it represent to you personally?
So Queenar is just it's just a play on my favorite comic book character, Oliver Queen. So I just took his surname Queen and his pseudonym as Green Arrow. So I just took the arrow part and then I just made it Queen Arrow. But I think ultimately what it represents to me is just an aspect of my persona who's more confident, who's a bit more outgoing than the actual introverted person that I am, and who's not afraid to go for what they want, regardless of whatever life throws my way. And just understanding, like, at the end of the day, like, I have the great work ahead will always mean that I'll have to continue fighting, continue persisting until I get where I want and need to be.
Got it. That is very inspiring. And at your age, you are saying all these things. It's really something to look forward to. Okay. And also the way you balance competition, partnerships, visibility, it's a whole lot of things. And even you're also having, to do work in governance spaces. So how do you manage all these responsibilities without burning out?
I'm not sure there's actually any way to proper balance, but I think the best compromise I've found is deciding what's important to me at a particular point in time.
Mhm.
Like for me right now, I have 4 more subjects I need to finish before I'm actually admitted to the bar. And that's been the main cause of my priority. That's been the main focus of my priorities right now as I recover from, as I try, like I had to even take a whole year all off just to like properly address my mental health problems. So I figured that while I'm doing that, I might as well focus on finishing school. So by the time that I'm fully back in competitive action, I won't have so much weighing on my spirit. So that's what's been important for me. But it doesn't mean that I'm still not following up on what's going on within my industry. And when the time has come, like I need to speak out, I do speak out.
Got it. But are you also training regularly? Do you play games? You'll have to do that, right? Like, as you're completing school as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still do that, but for the competitive side, I just give it a bit of like I just put it on the back burner for just a little bit because it doesn't make sense to be trying to be everything all at once. Then it takes an even heavier toll on your mental health. Like one thing I've come to learn, like above all else, your physical and mental health have to be key. It's something people need to prize because if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to do anything at the end of the day.
True. Yeah. Makes sense. Finally, Sylvia, one last question. So, for the young players listening to the podcast, What skills do you think they should focus on, or if they want to build a sustainable long-term esports career?
The skills I'd say one has to have to build a sustainable career is, I think, above all else, you need to keep an open mind. There's so much knowledge and wisdom to be gleaned from regardless of its source. Because if you don't have an open mind, you can't progress if you're not open to learning and being open to growth. And that will challenge you, because I don't think anyone likes feeling like they're dumb or stupid or incapable, but it shouldn't feel like a personal attack on who you are as a person. If anything, someone who's open to learning from their mistakes is someone who is going to have a very long-term and sustainable career. And I think another skill one needs to have is you have to be, I'd say, like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, I'd say people-centered, or you have to be friendly in terms of your interactions. I think which also goes hand in hand with the being open-minded. So how you interact with people at the end of the day is going to give you a long and sustainable career, because our industry is centered around people, not just machines and consoles and the like.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Sylvia, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your perspective, and your honesty, of course, with us today. It's actually conversations like these that, remind us that esports isn't just about competition. Like you said, it's about people, communities, and futures we're all building together, right? So, thank you so much for your time. It was lovely having you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rucha. It was a pleasure being on this podcast and sharing my perspectives with you.
Great. Also, and for everyone listening, thank you for tuning in to Game Changers, Voices of the Industry. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. Thanks, Sylvia.